This episode of The Energy Show is proudly sponsored by Sunlight and Power, the Bay Area's leading commercial and residential solar contractor. SLP has been designing and installing photovoltaic, battery backup, and solar thermal solutions since 1976. Help fight climate change. Go solar with Sunlight and Power today.
So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.
Welcome to this week's Energy Show. Now, there's lots of changes with the rooftop solar industry. New electronics, batteries, other components. In the old days, we just had two DC wires coming down from the roof connecting to a simple string inverter. But with module-level power electronics, or MLPE, which became popular around 2010, they basically become the standard. And now, with the need for batteries and additional load control features and other components like EV chargers, that simple solar system has gotten much more powerful. And the products are changing faster than ever now. So today we're talking about new capabilities from SolarEdge. I'm a big fan, both for our residential and commercial installations. I've got on my house 2 inverters, 1 EV charger, a couple of batteries, 40 panels. I get a check back from our utility every year. Last year was $121. 4 years ago it was $500. And the system's worked really reliably since 2019. So there's a lot to cover with SolarEdge because of their commercial, their residential segments. So we're going to break today's podcast into 2 segments. The first segment is mostly focused on homeowners. We're going to be talking about what their needs are. And the second segment is focused on installers, so we'll be a little bit geekier. Joining us today are Bertrand Vandeweile and John Ahlman. Bertrand's SolarEdge's new general manager for North America. He was previously with some of the biggest building technology companies like ABB, Honeywell, and Philips. And John is SolarEdge's chief marketing officer for North America. He's previously with the Y&V Group and Xerox. So welcome to the show, Bertrand and John.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you for hosting us today. We're delighted to be there, and thank you for everything you do to drive the renewable and the solar energy for our industry.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Great to join you.
Yeah, good. All right. So let's dive into the first session, really focusing on consumer-focused issues. Why don't you give us an overview of SolarEdge, what SolarEdge is known for, and a little bit about the company's background and products?
I'll take that one, Barry. So yeah, SolarEdge is very known for the optimize everywhere. We are a bit kind of the geeky of the industry. We try to optimize everything we can, of course, starting with the architecture, the optimizer, the per module level optimization, the inverter, the DC couple architecture with the battery. We try to look at every possible bits and pieces of an architecture and try to optimize absolutely the energy efficiency. The second point, what I would like to say, is the safety. That's where we really are known for. This is why we are so big in residential. This is why we're so big in commercial. No sacrifice when it comes to safety and security. And that's where really another part of our optimization.
Yeah, you mentioned the security thing. That's something that's really becoming a bigger issue. And, I know from talking to some of the SolarEdge's founders, that's kind of the heritage of the company back in Israel.
100%. Security, like you mentioned, I come also from other industry where, it becomes always a bit more IoT architecture and more hardware, software, cloud. And security is a big topic these days for absolutely every large, especially on the commercial, for every large companies, but also more on the homeowners and all the social media. So you could see really that security topic coming very forefront. And we're invested with a lot of engineers, and we've invested constantly. And even more so recently with bringing some additional cybersecurity, for instance, people.
Really important. All right. Now, where are SolarEdge's manufacturing facilities?
Oh, that's a very great question. We are massively expanding. So we have, of course, a global organization, but we are really investing very heavily right now in North America. And really, IRA is really working for the Americans, for Americas. And right now we are building, we have actually a facility producing already in Texas. where we have created already thousands of jobs and ramping our what we call our inverter technology. And we've actually shipped a record month last quarter, a record last quarter with 50,000 units in Texas. And we are building an additional facility out of Tampa Bay area in Florida, where we are producing our optimizer. And we shipped another set of 20,000 optimizer, DC optimizer, domestic content. When I say DC, is domestic content in support of the tax credit for our customers.
So that domestic manufacturing means that the SolarEdge components manufactured there are eligible for the additional 10%.
For the 10% for the commercial customers, including TPO in residential. That's correct.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool.
Yesterday was a big day for us. In fact, we had a big press release that we had made our quarterly targets for manufacturing. So it was a great day for SolarEdge and certainly a great day for the RIA and that policy really working.
Yeah. No, that'll really help. Okay, good. Well, let's talk about the products that you have for homeowners and how that can benefit them.
So overall, we talked already about the optimize everywhere approach, right? So we have a set of optimum architecture between the optimizer at on the roof level, on module level, with 1 volt on the roof, which is making sure of the safety, right? The rapid shutdown technologies with the optimizer integrated, all connected. Then we have the set of inverters and the DC coupled battery, which is really becoming today the standard, right, in terms of architecture. We've proven that already long ago, but you see additional manufacturer coming from a DC coupled architecture on the battery side. And battery, we are here in California, right? So the battery has a lot of momentum, let's put it that way, on the back of NEM 3. So we really have the optimum architecture for both the production. And really that represents, if you think, for instance, about 10% more production, that represents thousands and thousands of dollars in a lifetime of a system, which could be up to 25 years, right? So that's a very huge economical benefit on this optimization. And I've already touched upon on the safety side, right? Again, no sacrifice to safety and this level of optimization. Now we are also a perfect couple architecture, but we should not also forget the software part, right? I told you about the modules and the individual module optimization. That's a cloud-based architecture, an AI-based architecture. We can absolutely optimize everything we can, including when there is some shade, including when there is some dust. We continually do the optimization and can measure everything, anytime, everywhere.
So when we start talking about hardware and then software becomes more and more important, there's the concept of an open architecture or a closed architecture. Let's talk a little bit about SolarEdge's software and hardware architecture. Closed architecture like Apple, open architecture, Microsoft tried to do that.
Yeah, I will answer in simple terms, right? When it comes to energy production, we know very well the system of the 3 components I mentioned, right? Optimizer, inverters, eventually coupled with a battery. We know how to really best optimize at which level from a production, from a safety, and from a cost efficiency standpoint, right? To make the solar more affordable to everybody. So that is really the heart of a SolarEdge. But it's all about, of course, electrification and energy transformation. And there is more to build an ecosystem in a house. So now we see the evolution of HVAC going towards heat pumps, for instance, right? Those are big load supported by the electrification and becoming very attractive in the renewable world. So that in itself will never be, and we are not a heat pump manufacturers, but it's a big load that you really want to control. So those control signals between different suppliers and manufacturers need really to be shared in a way. And this is where the software architecture or cloud-based architecture becomes very prevalent and needed, where you need to really open through software this type of architecture.
Yeah, now I've been impressed that SolarEdge has had individual device controllers that are controllable from the cell phone cellular app, where you can say, turn off my hot water heater, turn on my EV charger, modify the operation of my heat pump HVAC system. It's really cool.
So our ecosystem is really strong, especially in the core components. Like, for example, the inverter and the battery, lots of energy management techniques going back and forth, optimizing that system. But of course, you need to be open for key areas like we're discussing, like heat pumps, or being able to take advantage of that DC direct technology so that you can, if you have an EV, you can go DC direct. So it's a very strong ecosystem on the core pieces and then open to where it needs to.
Okay, and so how does this make homeowners' electrification system easier to manage?
The less they have to manage, the better it is, right? At the end, it needs to be seamless for them, right? So you have dynamic tariff. Do you really want to be in your app and every 2 hours to change what you want to control in your house between your heat pump, between your HVAC, charging your cars, or the tariff being cheap on the weekend and very expensive at certain time of the day during the week? This has to be seamless for the end user, right? So let us take care of that. Let's the solution and the software solution take care of this optimization. That's what we do extremely well. But once again, you need also to respond to signals. I was talking, for instance, about integration with heat pump, for instance, load control we need to do. We could talk about that with the car, with the chargers. Think also about the optimization you want to do with utilities, this dynamic tariff I just talked about. You need to be able to pick up that signals and respond to that signals to do that continuous optimization. That's, again, what software architecture really enable you today. And technology is ready and has been there in building technology for some time. But now we really see with the assumption, the acceleration, I would say, of IoT architecture really become the norm.
Yeah, and that's where those two letters A and I come in, where you can use some of that intelligence to work between what the customer wants at a high level, like I just want to save money, and then try and map that into the craziness of utility tariffs and the weather at any given time to see how they're going to save the most money. And computers got to do that.
Absolutely. There's not one single schedule. Every day is different, but you can anticipate the demands. There are some patterns you can recognize with AI, to your point, and we can explore those optimization algorithm in order to optimize for energy efficiency or price, and of course, making sure you have a maximum, let's say, green energy.
Yeah. All right. So how are SolarEdge's products positioned in the residential market compared to competitors?
So we talk about this component of the architecture. Maybe let's take back a bit of history, right? We had this same old string. We call that same old string. So string, you see the string, the evolution of string. That's something we fight years ago for better DC coupled architecture and optimized architecture, including with the MLPE that you referred during your introduction, right? Those module level optimization. That really puts string to bed. It's not as effective. It doesn't go very well with shadings. It doesn't go well to optimize as the life of the system is aging. So really, we put that to bed more than a decade ago, right? So that's one side. So this really optimized or microinverter technology is the way to go. Now you see the assumption of a company which I will not name, but we all know which one. I went back to string. There is, I told you earlier, right? Thousands of dollars of difference every through the lifetime of a system. 10% of energy efficiency is a huge benefit in your pocket as an end customer. Why would you let that go, right? There is no pricing advantage. There is no installation advantage. You will pay this cost one way or another. So let's go for the best architecture in terms of energy optimization. Let's go for the best architecture in terms of safety. So that's one competitor. On the other competitor, we also see this whole AC coupled type of battery. It's also not optimized. You can really improve your efficiency again by this what we call the DC and the DC coupling, and directly store your extra energies into your battery. Those batteries tend to be sometimes small. The system are not designed for really, again, an optimization. We are a bit the geek here in the industries. We've done a lot of, let's say, optimization of system size, and we know the 10 kilowatt battery, for instance, is a sweet spot. And that's what you need. You don't want to run out of juice a few hours when there is a lack of power. And you can redo this optimization with those DC coupled architecture.
Yeah, no, it's very
some example.
It's very interesting. Just very simply with the AC versus DC. With AC architecture batteries, you're coming down from the roof with DC power. You're inverting it into AC, and then when you need to draw that power out, you've got to take that power out of the battery AC and then invert it again. Yeah. So it's just two extra couple changes. It's expensive.
We call that a triple conversion penalty. Right. That's pretty clear.
We talk a lot about like the first priority is that all the homeowners go solar. That's number one, okay? Mm-hmm. But after that, we defend this architecture of this optimized inverter because we love the amount of energy that we pull off the panels. That's so important, net. We love what that means for safety. And we think long haul DC coupled is now proving itself to be the global standard. So we think now, especially as other systems come on board, DC coupled has really proven itself, and that's where the market's going.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we're here at this segment talking about consumer interests. So why don't you give me a little bit of a background on how that typical solar installer kitchen table talk will work for homeowners when you're sitting down at their kitchen table and talking about the benefits of SolarEdge?
Excellent. So yes, we talk about this optimizer and module level optimization, right? So what you really want is to optimize in all conditions, right? At any time of the day, when there is a bit of shade, when there is a bit of dust, a bird nest, for instance, and in other type of architecture, right, what we call string, the same old string, which we keep on saying about, you really have, if that a mismatch between panels, or for instance, a panel is losing 50% of its production, the whole string is losing that power efficiency. That means your whole system productivity is going down. You don't have that with SolarEdge architecture. You don't have that with inverter technologies because you optimize per module. So that's a very big impact. And that's why we typically say we have about a 10% advantage versus a string type of architecture.
And how is that annual advantage map against the slightly higher upfront costs?
Yeah, over the lifetime of the system, depending on the conditions, depending on if you have a little bit of shade, moderate shade, maximum shade, or some of these other conditions like chimneys or dust, depending, because panel mismatch comes in a lot of forms, as Bertrand just said. So that can equate to $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 over the life of the system. Big money that ultimately can remain back in our homeowner's pocket.
Okay, yeah, that's a discussion and point that really makes sense for SolarEdge, because you very clearly, with that optimization, you're able to harvest. We call it energy harvest. You're able to harvest more energy, and that's more dollars. And heck, when electricity used to be 16 cents a kilowatt hour here in California, a little bit, but I'm paying 67 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity right now, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
All right. SolarEdge has got the home battery on the market. We've been installing it. It works great. It's got some nice DC coupled advantages, especially that you can put in a relatively inexpensive battery to get good benefits under net metering and net billing tariff. But what are some of the advantages of the SolarEdge battery?
So we talk about this DC coupled architecture and avoiding the trouble conversion penalty versus AC coupled architecture. So that DC coupled architecture also giving you the opportunity to harvest or store more as you produce, and you have some effect of clipping, for instance, in the roof when you have so much sun at certain time of the day, then it's possible for you to store that extra energy directly DC into that battery. So that's really the power of those DC-based architecture. And you stay in the DC world, right? Again, you can connect to an EV charger in the DC world. So that's really the main benefit of a DC-based architecture.
A lot of people don't realize in an AC coupled system, if they were to actually take the cover off the battery, they would find a whole series of inverters. Okay, and so you're going to actually convert that energy 3 times, and every time you make a conversion, you're losing energy. Heat is being generated. So, again, we call that the triple conversion penalty, and with a DC coupled system that's so popular now, you're able to go DC direct, whether you're going to a car or some of these new appliances. So we love the architecture, especially as you start to add storage.
It makes sense. So now let's talk about the specific needs of homeowners. They really say, hey, I just want to back up my house for whole home backup. They want a lot of power to run big appliances like air conditioners, like in the heat waves that we're experiencing here in California. And then they want to run that equipment a long time, which means that they need a lot of energy. Now, these homeowner wants can require multiple batteries and sometimes multiple inverters, which is expensive. How can SolarEdge design a home backup system that can meet these customer needs in reality when, the battery might be running low and they don't want to drain it completely because their air conditioner is running?
I love that question. I'm passionate about it. I think we have really to educate the market on this whole home backup situation. At the kitchen table, as we said, right, systems are being sold with a battery, and you think it will back up your house, and it will. It will for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and then you're done. So you think you have a battery to back you up? Your fridge is done. Everything is done. Why? Because you have this heavy load in your house. It's called an HVAC system. It's called a pool pump. When there is a lack of power and a shortage, do you really need your pool? Or you rather get your fridge and your plug with your laptop to continue do your work? And this is the challenge of whole home backup, which are not, let's say, what we call controlling the load or shedding the load. and also optimize again which load do you need to shade for a maximum efficiency. If you know it's a 2-hour shortage, you may want to shed some loads. If you have a hurricane that we keep on seeing, for instance, in Texas, you have 5 days without power for 4 times already this year in some regions, right? You need to stay 5 days. So you really need to be optimally shading your control. So that's very much what we apply with SolarEdge. You don't need 3 battery, 4 battery, 5 battery. You need that 10 kilowatt battery as a system size. Of course, if you believe you have an extended time or very large house, you may need a 2 or 3 battery system. But the most important is the ability to shade your load so that you can really extend the opportunity to have a backup. So that's a very critical element. We believe today the homeowners are being sold on architecture and they don't understand that they don't buy a backup solution.
Especially an example of that is, imagine we're having tons of outages here in California, right? So you go to bed and it's at 1 o'clock a.m., there's a big windstorm, the power goes down, so you're not up, right? And your battery, with our load controllers, what we're doing is automatically, while you're sleeping, we're shutting off those key loads automatically so that when you get up in the morning, if you sleep for 5 or 6 hours, your power's still running, your system's up and running. And other systems that don't have the ability to have that load controller, you're waking up and your battery has well been drained. You're 3 hours into the history of that. So again, we're trying to make it so the homeowner doesn't have to think about it. These things just happen automatically.
I'll give you another example, which I learned about 5 or 6 years ago that really hit me on the head how important this is. So we had a customer and he had a single SolarEdge battery, and there was a blackout in the middle of the night. And he and his wife were sleeping in their king-size bed in their nice big house, and the battery kind of went down and down and down, and then there was a complete lack of power, and his CPAP machine stopped CPAPing. And so he starts snoring. His wife wakes up, says, "Hey, get on the couch. I want to sleep."
There you go.
And so just really important to make sure that those non-essential loads are shed automatically, because you're not going to wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
unless you,
right.
unless
That's
you,
a great example
you
of
start
that in
snoring.
action, right?
Yep. All right, good. There's a new set of building codes that are basically relaxing the rooftop safety requirements, specifically this rapid shutdown. What does that mean for homeowners, and should they be taking a shortcut for a cheaper system to, just go back to the old-fashioned string system without having all the safety capabilities?
I think I hopefully made the case clear, right, that we will not really advise any of this sacrifice of safety and security, especially that now we have really proven this architecture for the last, decade or more, that you can really get an efficient system, saving you thousands of dollars through the lifetime and still have all the safety benefits. That's what this regulation has been there in the first place. You have your kids sleeping under your roof. Do you want to take a sacrifice on safety? It's your choice. But we have an architecture where it saves you thousands of dollars and no compromise to safety. I'll give you another example. I know we talk here about homeowner, but I will take you in the commercial space. There is no someone, an Amazon of this world, a Prologis, a large retail manufacturers. They want zero sacrifice to safety. If they have an issue on their roof, it means production. It means all the goods which are under their roof being damaged. It means loss of production, loss of productivity. That means maybe a month or 2 or 3 without operation. That's a huge impact. This is why more than 50% of Fortune 500 companies are using SolarEdge. And it's the most reliable solution you can find.
Yeah,
no compromise to safety.
Yeah. And we've, from a commercial standpoint, we've completely standardized on SolarEdge because of those long-term performance benefits and the additional safety benefits.
Yeah, 50% of the Fortune 500, they want that module level protection, and with this generation of string, they're putting that sort of protection every 10 panels, and we just like to have it on every panel. We just think ultimately that's good for everyone.
Yeah,
1 volt on the roof. The fire marshal, think about them. 1 volt on the roof is very safe for them. Why are we taking risk?
Yeah. All right, good. So if you could wave a magic wand over the solar industry and the storage industry and this electrification industry, what state and federal policy changes would you recommend to really get this industry growing even faster?
Look, we're in Americas here. The magic wand is happening. It's called the IRA. The last 2 years, there is massive investment going in this country. We're building factories, so is our competitors. We are having a lot of tax advantage with the IRA for the homeowner, for what we call a TPO. Also on the commercial side, we're building energy community solars. There is really a good inflow of incentive to go solar and really enabling the ROI. So I think we are very happy right now from an incentive standpoint. Of course, there is always optimization to be done at local level, at utility level, and continue to work together to make optimal choice for our constituents. Let's put it that way.
Obviously, the changes to NEM regulations, we're not happy with what that has done to the demand of solar. We like the fact that ultimately we know that storage and batteries is a great thing. It's a great thing for our environment. So we really want to work with these utilities to find policies and things that won't touch demand the way it has, but certainly keeps the pace for storage. So we have a bit of a mixed bag here with regard to NEM.
Yep. All right, good. All right, well, that's all the time we have on this week's Energy Show. Thanks, Bertrand and John, for joining me on the show. And stay tuned, listeners, for the second segment that we're going to be doing with SolarEdge. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. And if you missed any of today's show, you can always go to the Energy Show website at energyshow.biz and listen to the podcasts.
This episode of The Energy Show was proudly sponsored by Sunlight and Power, the Bay Area's leading commercial and residential solar contractor. SLP has been designing and installing photovoltaic, battery backup, and solar thermal solutions since 1976. Help fight climate change. Go solar with Sunlight and Power today.